After successfully refining the city-building seal, Luo Feng immediately returned to the quiet cultivation chamber inside his cave mansion and placed almost all of his focus on cultivation. Although part of his consciousness still controlled the life and death array, and another avatar continued assisting the defenders by intercepting stealth teams within the core areas of Yulan City. These tasks occupied only a tiny portion of his attention. After consuming the 100 Tribulations heart essence, Luo Feng's thinking speed increased by 3,000 times, allowing him to dedicate more than 99% of his mental capacity toward comprehending and perfecting the fusion between the Tao of life and the Tao of destruction. Inside his mind, countless insights and deductions unfolded at terrifying speed as he continuously refined the structure of the fusion. However, the fusion Tao he was attempting to complete had already surpassed the complexity of ordinary half-primordial level Taos. The deeper the fusion became, the more difficult it was to integrate the two opposing forces and create a qualitative transformation. Even so, Luo Feng had already reached the critical threshold before success and believed that, with the assistance of precious treasures, he could attempt a breakthrough within a single day. Despite this confidence, he also understood that completely perfecting the fusion in only one day was still extraordinarily difficult. He felt that if he were given just a few more days, he would have complete certainty of success. But the current battlefield situation did not allow such luxury. At that moment, Yuan Shang Palace Master urgently contacted Luo Feng. He informed him that ever since Luo Feng refined the city building seal, Yulan City had already lost 15 elders. The city's defensive system was rapidly approaching collapse, and the life and death array was now urgently required to help defend the city itself. Luo Feng was shocked by the severity of the situation. Although the elder teams were cooperating closely and Luo Feng's avatars were actively intercepting the stealth squads hidden throughout the city, the super limit level enchanting heartworms together with the 5-leader true body teams continued relentlessly hunting down elders. Their mental attacks were extremely terrifying and could directly destroy the elders' avatars inside the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Yuan Shang Palace Master explained that the most important objective now was stopping the external army from entering Yulan City. If the outside army managed to invade the city, the remaining elders would quickly be hunted down one by one, causing the defensive system of Yulan City to collapse entirely. Once that happened, the whole city would fall into enemy control. Understanding the danger, Luo Feng immediately agreed to assist. With a single thought, he mobilized the life and death array and redirected its power to strengthen the overall defenses of Yulan City. The formation controlled by Luo Feng alone possessed strength comparable to the combined formation power of 40 to 50 elders, instantly reducing the enormous pressure placed upon the city's defensive systems. Nevertheless, this also created another serious problem. Since the life and death array was now fully occupied resisting the attacks of the external army, it no longer had enough freedom to suppress the stealth teams moving inside the city. The elder teams now had to rely entirely on themselves to intercept those enemies. Even the elders began feeling powerless in the face of the worsening situation. Meanwhile, the leader-level stealth teams became extremely excited after noticing that the life and death array had shifted its focus toward resisting the external army. The king immediately issued a new order commanding all stealth teams to regroup and concentrate on slaughtering the elders. The 18 elite stealth teams that had previously scattered throughout the city quickly regrouped into coordinated units. Without the threat of the formation locking onto them from above, they possessed overwhelming advantages in mobility compared to the elder teams and became increasingly convinced that victory was near. Among all the invading enemies, the most terrifying existence within Yulan City remained the king's true body. As a super limit level expert, the king's strength was horrifying beyond comparison. Because the majority of Yulan City's defensive power was being used to resist the external invasion, the city no longer possessed sufficient strength to effectively suppress him and could only attempt to delay his movements. However, delaying him was far from enough. The king's techniques were extraordinarily advanced, and even when multiple elders defended together with extreme caution, they could still be killed by him. His efficiency in slaughtering elders was equivalent to the combined effectiveness of all 5 leader true body teams working together. Each leader team itself consisted of 6 true bodies operating in perfect coordination, without direct interference from the 3 hall masters or large-scale formation attacks. Almost no one in Yulan City could threaten them. During this chaotic situation, One of Luo Feng's patrolling avatars suddenly intercepted a leader team by transforming into a vast endless blood sea that spread across the surrounding region and blocked their path. The leaders immediately recognized Luo Feng and became irritated. In their eyes, Luo Feng was not even officially an elder, and they had no interest in wasting time fighting him. However, Luo Feng actively obstructed them and trapped them within the enormous blood sea domain. The 6 leaders instantly joined forces and launched powerful mental techniques against him simultaneously. This particular avatar of Luo Feng did not possess the Undying Heart or the Palm World, making it weaker than his strongest combat forms. Even so, as the city lord, Luo Feng could still borrow the power of Yulan city itself to strengthen his defenses. While his mastery of the Lai Yuan technique had also deepened significantly alongside his cultivation improvements. The power of Yulan city weakened the incoming mental attacks, and the Lai Yuan technique protected Luo Feng's consciousness from being completely overwhelmed. Luo Feng felt countless illusions invading his perception and attempting to confuse his awareness. But he remained fully conscious and clearly retained his sense of self under the protection of the technique. From this confrontation, Luo Feng realized that even 6 Divine Emperor perfection-level mental-type low-level primordial lives attacking together could not defeat him mentally. However, he also understood that a super-limit-level mental attack would undergo a qualitative transformation and become vastly more dangerous. So he maintained extreme caution. After discovering that their mental attacks had failed, the 6 leaders immediately shifted tactics. Their bodies transformed from illusory forms into fully materialized combat forms, unleashing terrifying physical power. Their combined strength far surpassed the combined might of Wei Yong Palace Master and Gai Dao Palace Master. Under their overwhelming assault, Luo Feng's endless blood sea was shattered almost instantly. The 6-leader true bodies then broke free from the destroyed blood sea and rapidly departed without continuing the battle because they did not wish to waste valuable time. After leaving, they concluded that Luo Feng must possess an exceptionally powerful secret treasure that granted him extremely strong mental defenses. Based on the brief exchange, they estimated that Luo Feng's strength likely ranked within the top 10 experts of Yulan city. However, they did not realize that the opponent they had just fought was merely one of Luo Feng's ordinary avatars rather than one of his strongest bodies. Luo Feng watched the leader-level true bodies depart in groups of 6 and realized they were almost impossible to defeat. Even if he used the Undying Heart together with the Palm World to multiply his strength several times, he could only fight them evenly. Since even he could not handle those leader-level teams, the other elders had even less hope. He foresaw that the situation would continue to deteriorate. The elders also understood what was coming but were powerless to stop it. Their numbers steadily declined. Their resistance weakened, and eventually even destroying a single elite stealth team became extremely difficult. A group of 17 elders led by the Master of Deceit Workshop, including Chongqing building owner, observed the battlefield. Looking into the sky, they saw that Yulan city's defensive formations had already been reduced by 50 to 60. While the remaining formations struggled to withstand the endless assaults from the invading army. The Master of Deceit Workshop concluded that Yulan city could fall at any moment. Although tremendous slaughter had already occurred, less than half a day had actually passed, and reinforcements from the Dark Sacred Realm would not arrive in time. He believed the only remaining hope was Yuan Shang Palace Master, as an enlightened expert who had mastered 2.5 primordial level paths. Even after being contaminated, he might still possess a desperate trump card capable of creating a miracle and allowing the city to survive until reinforcements arrived. Aside from him, no other hope remained. Inside an ordinary cave mansion in the outer city, Yuan Shang Palace Master looked toward the sky and admitted to himself that although every elder expected him to save the city, he had no means to do so. Even the life and death array was controlled by Luo Feng. He believed he had already done everything possible and apologized inwardly to all the cultivators of Yulan city. At that moment, the low-level primordial life army surrounding the city launched a coordinated full-scale assault from 4 directions after sensing that the city's defenses were collapsing. Every force attacked with maximum power regardless of cost, including the 4 kings. Their overwhelming attacks exceeded the defensive formation's limits and blasted open a massive breach. Countless low-level primordial lives immediately flooded into the city. As the invaders poured through the breach, the elders desperately controlled the remaining formations to intercept and slaughter them. Large numbers of weaker early stage and middle stage Divine Emperor primordial lives died under the formations. However, the enemy's objective was to eliminate the Elders first. A gigantic super-limit level existence resembling a winding mountain range entered the city while leading more than 1,000 Divine Emperor perfection level low-level primordial lives directly toward Yulan City's core area to destroy its final resistance. Other forces simultaneously sealed off the city to prevent any cultivator from escaping. The Elders realized that Yulan City had fallen, although most possessed avatars and could calmly face the loss of their true bodies. They still grieved the destruction of the city they had struggled to defend, the loss of everything they had accumulated there, and the inevitable massacre that would soon follow. The billions of cultivators inside the city had been too weak to participate in the defense and could only watch the battle unfold. When the defensive formations collapsed, despair spread throughout the city because almost all of them had their true bodies there, meaning death would be permanent. Many could not understand why the three Hall Masters had failed to stop the invasion. Others gazed at the terrifying super-limit level beings and leader-level enemies in the sky, laughed bitterly, and accepted that after transcending their home worlds and gathering among countless powerful cultivators, their cultivation journey would end in this catastrophe. Many calmly accepted death, having long prepared themselves for such an ending. Inside Luo Feng's cave mansion, Emperor Chen, Emperor Ming, and Di Fu also witnessed the city's fall. Emperor Chen and Di Fu possessed clone techniques, but Emperor Ming did not. Although Emperor Ming had life-saving treasures, he believed he could not escape the blockade of the low-level primordial life army. He accepted that he had known the source world's outside realm was dangerous from the moment he left the land of origin, though he had not expected death to arrive so quickly. Emperor Chen and Di Fu could do nothing to help him. Emperor Chen wondered why Luo Feng was still in seclusion despite the city's collapse. Sensing through causality that one of Luo Feng's avatars remained inside the cultivation chamber. Within the quiet room, Luo Feng was fully aware of everything happening throughout Yulan City. He saw the invading army flood into the city and witnessed the massacre begin. Unable to complete his breakthrough before the city's fall, his eyes turned red with anxiety as he desperately urged himself to comprehend faster. While consuming the 100 tribulations heart essence, he endured unbearable soul pain as though experiencing a life and death trial. Under his overwhelming determination, intense emotions, and desperate desire to achieve enlightenment, his will erupted, his soul suddenly vibrated violently. The pain completely vanished, and he entered a mysterious state. His thinking and comprehension far surpassed his previous 3,000 times cognitive speed. His understanding reached an unprecedented level, and inspiration continuously emerged. In that mysterious state, his efficiency in perfecting the life and death Tao increased dramatically, allowing him to instinctively find the correct path without repeated trial and error. After only a dozen breaths, a completely transformed life and death Tao appeared within his mind. Luo Feng successfully comprehended the late-stage Divine Emperor-level life and death Tao. Although filled with excitement, he immediately exited the mysterious state and even greater soul pain returned. Ignoring the agony because there was still time, Luo Feng rushed out of his cave mansion's quiet room with madness burning in his eyes. After completing his cultivation breakthrough, Luo Feng released an overwhelming aura from his cave mansion and instantly split himself into 34 avatars. He instructed Emperor Qing to remain inside while the avatars dispersed throughout the core area of Yulan City. Emperor Qing, Di Fu, and Emperor Ming were puzzled because creating so many avatars greatly reduced the strength and energy reserves of each one. Emperor Ming believed Luo Feng simply wished to fight until death, but Di Fu trusted that Luo Feng would never act without confidence. Luo Feng had already planned for all 34 avatars to defend the entire core area. His strongest avatar possessed 500 times the perfect divine body energy reserve and carried both the undying heart and the palm world, while the remaining 33 avatars each possessed 100 times the energy reserve, representing all the power he currently possessed. Meanwhile, the core area of Yulan City faced total despair as 4 super-limit level enemies led more than 2,000 Divine Emperor Perfection low-level primordial life creatures and tens of thousands of late-stage Divine Emperor creatures toward the city. The Elders depended entirely on the city's defensive formations because the strength difference was overwhelming. They realized this assault had been launched hastily. Otherwise, the invading army would have been twice as large and would have destroyed the city even faster. Previously, the enemies around Yulan city had only numbered a few hundred Divine Emperor Perfection creatures and several thousand late-stage Divine Emperor creatures. But now there were several thousand Divine Emperor Perfection enemies, tens of thousands of late-stage Divine Emperor enemies, and 5 super limit-level existences including the Lurkers, making resistance appear impossible. The 5 surviving leader teams celebrated wildly because they believed victory had already been secured. Although many clan members and 2 leaders had died during the assault, the city had finally been breached, and they expected to massacre the elders before enjoying the countless cultivators living inside the city. One of Luo Feng's avatars intercepted a leader team and instantly transformed into an enormous sea of blood that engulfed all 6 leaders. The leaders materialized their true forms and attempted to tear apart the blood sea. But its immense weight completely suppressed them. Luo Feng activated a formation based on the late-stage Divine Emperor Life and Death Dao. Immobilizing all 6 leaders until they could barely move, he concentrated the formation's power upon one enchanting heartworm, steadily eroding its Divine Emperor Perfection body and suppressing its regenerative ability until it died. The dying leader desperately begged both its companions and the king for help. The king, who resembled Wei Yong Palace Master, observed the scene from afar and was shocked that even after the city had fallen, someone possessed enough power to threaten an entire leader team. Despite the leader's desperate cries, Luo Feng completely destroyed it. Luo Feng realized that although he had reached the late-stage Divine Emperor Life and Death Dao, eliminating a leader team was still difficult because of their extraordinary vitality. This avatar lacked powerful treasures, possessed only 100 times the energy reserve, and had no suitable high-level secret treasures besides the rare creations of outliers such as the Undying Heart and the Palm World. As Luo Feng reflected, the remaining leaders trapped inside the Blood Sea died one after another. The fewer survivors remained, the weaker their resistance became, allowing Luo Feng to eliminate the entire 6-member leader team in just over 10 breaths. The surviving leader teams panicked after learning that Luo Feng had destroyed one entire team. When another leader team attempted to escape by becoming illusory, Luo Feng tore open space itself and crossed the crack in the sky with only 3 steps before another blood sea engulfed them. The fleeing leaders could not understand how Luo Feng moved even faster than they did or how he could seemingly perform short-range teleportation inside the heavily suppressed 9 Rivers Holy Realm. Luo Feng realized he had successfully created a flying escape secret technique based upon the late-stage Divine Emperor Life and Death Dao. Because he had broken through and immediately entered battle, he had not yet developed many techniques using his new Dao. Although every technique created from a complete late-stage Divine Emperor Dao possessed extraordinary power, they all required time to perfect. His 34 avatars continued defending the core area while his greatly enhanced thinking speed increased to 3,000 times normal after consuming the 100 Tribulations Heart Essence, allowed him to control every avatar with little mental burden. Most of Luo Feng's concentration focused on 2 tasks. First, he used the city building seal to reconstruct the formations inside the core layer of Yulan city using the Life and Death Dao instead of his previous weaker formations. By relying on the city itself, these new formations could still cover the entire city despite the suppression of the 9 Rivers Holy Realm and would eventually threaten the entire invading army. Second, he continued creating and improving secret techniques. Simpler techniques for flying, dodging, and attacking were easy for him to develop, while improving the Undying Blood Sea body, which was based on the Star Tower blood scale and inspired by the Undying Heart, would require much more time. The biomimetic destruction eye also needed long-term refinement. Techniques Luo Feng regarded as simple were considered nearly impossible achievements by other cultivators. From an ordinary cave mansion in the outer city, Yuan Shang Palace Master observed the entire battle. He was astonished when he witnessed Luo Feng tearing through space and performing short-range void travel inside the 9 Rivers Holy Realm. Something almost impossible under its suppression, since only specially created escape treasures normally allowed such movement. Yuan Shang Palace Master concluded that Luo Feng must have mastered 2 half-primordial level paths. Believing this gave Yulan City hope. He thought Luo Feng might save countless cultivators despite inevitable heavy casualties. However, Yuan Shang Palace Master did not realize that Luo Feng had not mastered two half-primordial level paths. Instead, he had comprehended a complete late-stage Divine Emperor Life and Death Dao, whose complete and integrated power surpassed even the combined coordination of two half-primordial level paths. Immediately after his breakthrough, Luo Feng had already become stronger than Yuan Shang Palace Master at his peak. 34 of Luo Feng's avatars guarded every core area of Yulan City. After destroying one leader squad and suppressing another, the remaining 3 leader squads panicked and fled. The suppressed squad desperately called for help before being completely wiped out, while the fleeing leaders scattered in terror. Nearly half of the leader-level experts from the Enchanting Heartworm tribe and the Soul-Devouring Snake tribe that had gathered in Yulan City now faced total destruction. Luo Feng continuously crossed space with his avatars, trapped another leader squad in his blood sea, forcing the remaining leaders to scatter, hide, and attempt to possess cultivators. Luo Feng responded by splitting his avatars again, increasing their numbers despite reducing each avatar's energy reserve. Using the biomimetic destruction eye to lock onto every true body, each avatar crossed space, struck with blood light attacks, and instantly killed the separated leaders, who could not withstand even a single move individually. The king, disguised as Master Wei Yang, rushed toward Luo Feng in fury. It admitted that Luo Feng's unexpected strength had made conquering Yulan City far more difficult and that if Palace Master Yuan Shang had fully employed him earlier, the city could never have been breached. The king immediately unleashed its innate enchanting mental attack. Luo Feng's ordinary avatar, without the undying heart or palm world, briefly experienced confusion as overwhelming information flooded his mind. But his life and death Dao at the late Divine Emperor stage greatly weakened the attack. Combined with the Lai Yuan technique and the protection of Yulan City's power, the attack lost most of its effectiveness, leaving only confusing information that Luo Feng calmly filtered while remaining fully conscious. Maintaining complete clarity, Luo Feng transformed into a blood sea to trap the transcendent-level Enchanting Heartworm. The king immediately realized its mental attacks were ineffective because Luo Feng's cultivation realm matched its own. The king concluded that Luo Feng had mastered 2 half-primordial level Daos and immediately informed the other 4 transcendent-level companions approaching the core area. It declared that the combined force of 5 transcendent-level beings and more than 2,000 Divine Emperor Perfection-level warriors could completely eliminate Luo Feng. Since one transcendent-level being equaled more than 20 Divine Emperor Perfection-level experts, and thousands of such experts attacking together possessed world-destroying power, the king believed they still held the advantage because the city had already been breached, allowing them to surround Luo Feng. One of the fastest transcendent-level companions immediately moved to reinforce the king. After its mental attack failed, the king shattered Luo Feng's blood sea formation and escaped. Luo Feng acknowledged that, without powerful secret treasures and while using only an ordinary avatar, he remained somewhat weaker than a transcendent-level being. His strongest techniques, the undying blood sea body and biomimetic destruction eye, had not yet fully matured, making ordinary secret techniques insufficient against opponents of that level. Meanwhile, Luo Feng's remaining avatars completely exterminated every surviving leader before returning to the original total of 34 avatars, which resumed guarding the city's core areas. The elders controlling Yulan City's formations witnessed everything. They saw Luo Feng alone split into 34 avatars, exterminate all the leader-level lurkers, and force even the transcendent-level king to retreat without gaining any advantage against a single avatar. They concluded that Luo Feng's strength had surpassed Palace Master level and likely reached the level of someone who had mastered 2 half-primordial level Daos, a level considered among the strongest in the Dark Sacred Realm. The Insect Nest Master realized Luo Feng could now kill any Palace Master level expert within 1 or 2 moves and understood that their previous hostility meant there would no longer be a place for them in Yulan City. Deciding survival was more important. The Insect Nest Master resolved to help defend the city before quietly leaving afterward. The Master of Shadow Tower, Master of Deceit Workshop, Elder Tianhe, Building Master Chongqing, Elder Shengyi, and the other elders were equally shocked, recognizing Luo Feng as the uncrowned king of any city within the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm. Their despair turned into hope as they believed Yulan City could now be saved. The elders urgently requested that Palace Master Yuan Shang allow Luo Feng to imprint the city's core formations immediately. Believing that with Luo Feng's strength combined with the city's defensive formations, they could repel the entire low-level primordial army. Palace Master Yuan Shang revealed that he had already handed the city building seal to Luo Feng and announced that Luo Feng was now officially the lord of Yulan City. Luo Feng confirmed that he had refined the city building seal and accepted the position of city lord. The elders celebrated, believing both Yulan City and its billions of cultivators could now survive. Luo Feng immediately instructed every elder to use the city's formations against the approaching enemy because the low-level primordial army would focus all its strength on eliminating him first. The elders confidently accepted their responsibilities, convinced victory was finally possible. At the same time, the vast low-level primordial army charged toward the core area from every direction. Through the biomimetic destruction eye, Luo Feng observed the greatest threat: 5 transcendent level beings, more than 2,600 Divine Emperor perfection-level entities, and tens of thousands of late-stage Divine Emperor-level low-level primordial beings. The entire invading army had only one objective: to kill Luo Feng. Destroy every avatar he created, exhaust his energy, and prevent him from saving Yulan City. Having already breached the city, this represented their greatest opportunity to escape the 9 Rivers sacred realm and gain the freedom they had desired for countless years. Luo Feng represented the only hope for the billions of cultivators within Yulan City. While simultaneously standing as the greatest obstacle to the invaders' freedom, both sides prepared to fight with everything they possessed. Luo Feng ordered the defenders to block the enemy and buy time while the elders of Yulan City activated the city's formations to slow the advancing army of low-level primordial life. Although the enemy army could withstand the attacks, its advance was greatly delayed. The 5 kings knew they had to act quickly because once Luo Feng completed inscribing his formation over Yulan City, its power would surpass the combined formations of more than 300 elders, making victory nearly impossible. Even after Luo Feng's appearance had greatly worsened the situation, the super-limit level beings refused to retreat because without their infiltration forces breaking through from inside the city, capturing Yulan City was almost impossible. They decided to make a final desperate attempt. The blue-white Shu Guang Demon Lord rushed ahead of the army toward the city's core, while the super-limit level Enchanting Heartworm also advanced so they could combine their strength. Guarding the city with 34 avatars, Luo Feng monitored every movement through the biomimetic destruction eye and the city building seal. Immediately realizing their intention to unite, he observed Shu Guang Demon Lord's massive body covered with blue-white scales, equipped with 8 powerful claws, 2 strong arms, glowing blue eyes, and incredible speed despite not using spatial movement. Determined to prevent the 2 kings from joining forces, Luo Feng personally intercepted Shu Guang Demon Lord using his strongest avatar equipped with the Undying Heart and Palm World. Crossing the seams of heaven and earth in only 2 steps, he transformed into an endless blood sea that engulfed the enormous enemy. The blood sea possessed a 100-fold energy reserve with the Undying Heart serving as its core. After comprehending the late-stage Divine Emperor life and death Tao, Luo Feng had reached a higher understanding of the Undying Heart, allowing him to unleash power beyond the level of the late-stage Divine Emperor life and death Tao through the secret treasure. Every drop of blood possessed extraordinary durability while the waves generated overwhelming binding force. Shu Guang Demon Lord violently charged through the blood sea, its 8 claws tearing apart the binding waves and shaking heaven and earth. It unleashed its strongest desperate technique immediately, exploding with dazzling blue-white light that completely enveloped the blood sea and appeared capable of burning it away. However, the Undying Heart specialized in defense, and the blood sea remained completely intact without losing even a single drop. Luo Feng realized that although the Undying Heart allowed him to suppress Shu Guang Demon Lord and remain invincible, it lacked sufficient offensive power to kill such an opponent. He concluded that defeating a super-limit level being required using both secret treasures simultaneously. He also recognized that his secret techniques, especially the Undying Blood Sea Body and Biomimetic Destruction Eye, still needed improvement to make killing such opponents easier. The elders of Yulan City witnessed the overwhelming explosion and believed any elder would have been annihilated instantly. Unable to see through the battle, They worried that Luo Feng was being suppressed as Shu Guang Demon Lord relentlessly attacked the Blood Sea. Meanwhile, Shu Guang Demon Lord realized with alarm that its strongest attack had failed to damage even a single drop of blood. Suddenly, a gigantic furry claw emerged from within the Blood Sea. At such close range, Shu Guang Demon Lord could not evade. A spatial prison formed around it as the claw seized its body. Despite struggling with all its strength and surrounding itself with layers of protective light, it could not escape the claw's terrifying grip. The claws crushed its blue-white scales and gradually pierced into its body. Luo Feng was surprised that a single strike had not killed the enemy. Recognizing the extraordinary vitality possessed by innate primordial lives, the giant claw dragged Shu Guang Demon Lord into the depths of the Blood Sea, where the Blood Sea formation completely enveloped it with endless layers of suppression. While the enemy struggled unsuccessfully to escape, the furry claw repeatedly struck its body with devastating force. After more than 10 consecutive attacks, the body became riddled with bloody holes until its life core was exposed and shattered. Shu Guang Demon Lord's eyes lost all light. Its resistance ended, and its corpse floated within the Blood Sea. Luo Feng sighed in relief, noting that while defeating a super limit level being had become easy, killing one still required combining both the Undying Heart and Palm World because he had only recently broken through. He then stored the corpse inside his storage treasure. From the perspective of the elders, the cultivators, and the invading army, the entire battle lasted only about 7 breaths. After being seized by the giant furry claw and dragged into the Blood Sea, Shu Guang Demon Lord struggled briefly before dying completely. Everyone was shocked that a super limit level primordial life had been killed one-on-one in less than 10 breaths. The cultivators of Yulan City became exhilarated, while the invading army, especially the remaining 4 super limit level beings, was both shocked and enraged. They could not understand how Luo Feng, who had only recently advanced beyond Palace Master level, had become powerful enough to kill Shu Guang Demon Lord so easily despite being newly advanced. Palace Master Yuan Shang was equally puzzled. From observing Luo Feng's life and death array, he believed Luo Feng cultivated both the paths of life and destruction. Even if Luo Feng had reached the half-primordial level in both paths, achieving such perfect integration should have required much more time. Yuan Shang suspected Luo Feng possessed an exceptionally powerful secret treasure, reasoning that treasures worth more than 10,000 reward points in infinite space could produce miraculous results. Regardless of the explanation, he became confident that Yulan City would survive. His only concern was limiting casualties, hoping fewer than 30% of the city's cultivators would die despite the invasion by more than 2,000 Divine Emperor Perfection cultivators and tens of thousands at the late-stage Divine Emperor level. The moment Shu Guang Demon Lord died, the super limit level Enchanting Heartworm immediately retreated while the remaining 3 super limit level beings, the mountain-like creature, the many-tentacled thunder creature, and the giant black-winged bird, changed direction to unite. They concluded that none of them could face Luo Feng alone. From his effortless victory over Shu Guang Demon Lord, they judged that Luo Feng's realm exceeded theirs and that he possessed extremely powerful secret treasures. They believed the giant furry claw had been refined from the corpse of a high-level primordial life. Feeling the battle was unfair because cultivators received suitable secret treasures while they did not, they complained that the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm naturally favored the cultivator camp. They remarked that outside this realm, under the ancestors' rule, cultivators would merely be their prey. Nevertheless, having been captured and imprisoned in the 9 Rivers Sacred Realm, they could only obey its rules. Although regrouping consumed valuable time and allowed Luo Feng to continue inscribing his formation without interruption, they had no alternative because fighting him individually guaranteed death, and even attacking in pairs carried the same risk.